But let's
That's it.
get into the news of Tamara Lich, because this sort of broke over the last day or two. She is headed to sentencing after being convicted
Jeez.
of mischief. Um, she's headed to sentencing in just 2 days, so Wednesday on the 23rd. And this is what she posted. And it's funny because I brought this up to Ezra the other day, and I'm like, should we get Tamara to come to our birthday party? And he's like, and I said, like, are we worried about her going to jail? And he said, oh God, she'll never see the inside of a jail cell. Oh, well, not if the prosecutors have their way. Late yesterday afternoon, I received a copy of the Crown's materials for our upcoming sentencing hearing and can confirm they are seeking a 7-year prison sentence for her. This is not like, hey, this is the sentencing range from like no time served to 10 years. They want 7 years for Tamara, 8 for Chris Barber, and the destruction of Chris's livelihood. They want to destroy Big Red. That's his iconic symbol of the convoy, his truck, which he uses every day. It's part of his business. He is quite literally a trucker. If you destroy the truck, you destroy his business. So not only is it enough that they want to imprison him for 8 years, but they also want to leave him indigent at the end of it all. And I think this is outrageous. As I said, sentencing is Wednesday. Ezra's going to be there to cover it live from the courtroom for Rebel News.
Well, Sheila, if Tamara does spend a single day in jail, it will make a mockery.
She almost spent 50 days already. So.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not. And of course, if I'm the judge, the penalty is time served. Have a good day, Miss Lich and Mr. Barber. And that is just a vendetta if they go ahead and try to repossess or destroy Big Red, take away his livelihood. What have we seen in almost 2 years in the streets? We've seen the Hamas-holes chanting for genocide, shooting up Jewish girls' schools, carrying out vandalism against Jewish businesses, vandalism, violence, and what happens? The police arrest peaceful counter-demonstrators, and yes, I'm speaking from experience, members of the independent press. What did we see just last week? Some 14-year-old punk. And of course, we can't name Precious or show you his photo anymore now that he's been captured, who took to social media and incriminated himself, bragging, essentially, about killing a 71-year-old beloved grandmother because she wouldn't surrender her car keys. Gee, Sheila, maybe the Toronto police were right. Just bend the knee. Just give the criminals whatever you want. And here we have these leaders of a peaceful demonstration. As you know, Sheila, crime went down in Ottawa during the Freedom Convoy being there, despite all the despicable smear attempts of, Freedom Convoy participants involved in arson and going after a homeless shelter. I mean, it was just absolute embarrassing garbage. But here's my worry, Sheila. I would like to believe Ezra is right. I would like to believe that, even though they're seeking 7-8 year jail sentence terms, the real justice would be, please be on your way. You've suffered enough. And they have suffered enough, clearly. Mm-hmm. But you never know what a judge is thinking, do you, Sheila? You can never guess what's in that judge's head. And my fear, especially that this trial is being held in Ottawa, and I'm just speculating, if this is a judge who has aspirations of in the future being named to, say, the Supreme Court of Canada, wants to wear one of those nice red robes, that means the book will be thrown. I would have more confidence, Sheila, if this was a jury trial, not... go ahead.
No, I was just going to say this picture itself speaks to why she shouldn't see the inside of a jail cell. She is standing there with her lawyer, Keith Wilson.
Yep.
talking to the police liaison team, working with the police liaison team, doing her best to mitigate the inconvenience of the residents of downtown Ottawa, the well-kept work from home bureaucrats of downtown Ottawa who found the honking the worst thing that ever happened to them. The phantom honking. Do you remember that? That was a real story. They suffered from phantom honking. But this shows that she's not some hardened, seasoned criminal who should spend 7 years in jail. She's somebody who did her best to make sure that her protest adhered to the laws by working with police every single day. It's atrocious that the Crown wants this, but let's not let somebody in the middle of this get away from it. These are Doug Ford's Crown prosecutors. These are not Mark Carney's Crown prosecutors. These are Doug Ford's Crown prosecutors. This is insane.
100%. But really, Doug Ford, Mark Carney, really, Sheila, is there any difference?
No daylight.
Let's be realistic here. Yes, there was horn honking, but I can tell you over the last few years, Sheila, whether it's Antifa or the Hamas holes or sometimes public sector union members, I get a megahorn
of course,
at point blank in my ear. It is deafening. It is a form of assault. 100% it is. I would rather be punched than have one of those horns, blast a sonic assault into my eardrums. This happens in front of police, and they do nothing. And I made this point before, Sheila, and I remember your answer, and it made me chuckle. I was there for most of the Freedom Convoy, and I was out there on the coldest days, and I was practicing journalism, covering it, as were, of course, Alexa Lavoie and Lincoln Jay. And I'll tell you, I stayed in hotels right downtown, right at ground zero. And when my head hit the pillow, I was out like a light. And I think you said when I first told you that story, well, of course, because you were working.
Yeah, it was exactly what I was thinking. That's because you put in an honest day's work.
Yeah.
And a lot of those bureaucrats, work from home bureaucrat losers, 1 and 2 could be fired and I wouldn't care. They don't work hard for a living. And that's what the people in the Freedom Convoy wanted for themselves, was to be able to go back to work, to just be able to earn for their family. But thanks to vaccine mandates and travel restrictions, they just couldn't. They didn't want to have their union go to bat for them so that they could sit in their condo in downtown Ottawa and clack away on their keyboard. They wanted to put in an honest day's work with their back and their hands or their truck or their equipment to earn for their families. And they were never allowed to. That's what they were there fighting for. And imagine, it's the laptop class versus the productive class. That's what this was all about. And, the fancy people in this country, they have to make sure that this never happens again.
And Sheila, as you were speaking, look at the despicable footage of violence and vandalism and hatred, bouncy castles and street performers and people picking up litter. And I'll tell you, one of the sidebars, Sheila, in terms of the propaganda narrative that the legacy media was perpetuating was all the restaurants. I would say more than 90% of the restaurants in downtown Ottawa during this period were closed, even had plywood, shielding on their windows. Because you know what? It's not a safe space, And I can tell you the 1s and 2s of restaurants that stayed open, there was a shawarma place and there was a Thai place. There was a lineup of grateful customers waiting to get in to patronize. What I'm saying is all those scaredy cat Ottawa businesses that bought in to the mainstream media propaganda, they lost out on a bonanza, because when you have over 150,000 people converging in downtown Ottawa, guess what? They're going to buy things, especially food and beverage. And you really missed out. And there was none of the garbage that we see in the streets of our great Dominion post October 7th. So, Sheila, try to connect the dots for me in terms of this hypocrisy and this double standard.
You know, I did something that a lot of people didn't do, and that was actually read the sentencing submissions from the Crown. And in that, and I wrote this up for our website today. Despite the protest's peaceful nature, the Crown argues that the symbolism of occupying Wellington Street near Parliament Hill justifies treating the event as a serious criminal matter. So just the presence of these blue-collar people down there should be a serious criminal matter. Wait, it gets worse, because this goes to what you were talking about. Victim impact statements from residents, hotels, and businesses allege noise disturbance and revenue loss. All they had to do was open the doors.
Thank you.
They're using the revenue loss as a reason why these two should be punished as serious terrorist criminals. By the way, they weren't convicted of sedition, so why are they being sentenced for sedition? But the revenue loss was on the restaurant owners who locked the doors. These people were protesting for the restaurants to be able to be open.
You know, Sheila, it's kind of like an ice cream truck driver during a scorching heat wave going on vacation.
Right.
You are lacking the vision of what it takes to be successful in that business. And the same with this, as they say, I believe the farmers say this out where you live, Sheila, when the sun is shining, you make hay. And the idea that you closed up voluntarily, and granted, you were kind of coerced in terms of the media garbage that you were consuming. Well, you know what? Maybe you should have rolled the dice, because you would have been ahead.
Yeah. The saying is make hay when the sun shines. And these guys didn't. Let's move ahead, because the Conservatives are remembering why Pierre Poilievre is the leader. And Pierre Poilievre is the leader because Erin O'Toole was, like this with the Liberals on the Freedom Convoy.
Yep.
He wouldn't meet with them. He basically sided with the nonsensical Liberals that these people shouldn't be protesting their government in the city that houses the government. Like, where else are you supposed to protest them? But they're remembering once again why they have Pierre Poilievre as a leader. And so Conservative MP Dean Allison reacts to Tamara's. So we won't go into Poilievre yet, but Dean Allison was the first one. So he is the MP for Niagara West. And he was the first one to come out and say how crazy this was. This is insanity. The Liberal government treats actual criminals better than this. Steal a car, no problem. Home invasions, no problem. Murder a grandmother, no problemo. Exploit children, no problem. This country is run by useful idiots. And that is true. And he wasn't the only one. He sort of opened the floodgates. So former Conservative MP Michelle Ferreri then reacted to Dean's post, who is reacting to Tamara. And she said, you can murder someone, walk free, but if you organize a protest, you go to jail. Oh, not any protest. You can organize protests all over the place. You just can't organize a protest in favor of human rights and dignity and charter rights in this country. She said, this is Liberal Canada. It's not about justice. It's about control. And then U.S. trial lawyer Robert Barnes said, we should sanction Canada for this on the same grounds that we have sanctioned other foreign nations for their wrongful lawfare against basic human freedoms that the trucker convoy protected. You know what? One would wonder what Mark Carney would have to say if Russia treated peaceful protesters like this.
You know what?
Let's say the Israelis did this. The Liberals would be lighting their hair on fire, tripping over themselves to denounce it. They do it here. And look, this is a win for justice in Canada.
And you know what, Sheila? Let us not forget, since you mentioned the name of Mark Carney, banker supreme once upon a time in both
Right.
Canada and England. Mr. Carney, and is there anyone in the mainstream media that would have the guts to ask him this question? As a banker, what did you think about Canadian banks freezing the bank accounts of those
I can
financial support? So these are people that never took to the streets. These are just people that wanted to help feed and fuel the Freedom Convoy. What would Mr. Carney have to say? I really wonder, Sheila.
Do you wonder? Because he told us exactly what he would say. Because he's the guy who said we need to follow the money and choke it off. And he called this sedition. And lo and behold, these two are being sentenced as though they committed sedition instead of just peaceful mischief, the crime of being annoying in public and the cops don't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
He's the guy who wrote this as a op-ed to the Globe and Mail. It's time to end the sedition in Ottawa by enforcing the law and following the money. He's the guy who whispered to Freeland, let's use FinTrack to shut these down as though this is a terrorist act, and then we'll trace the money as though it is the proceeds or the funding for terrorism. And well, same government does nothing about the Hamas protests when the Americans are like, yeah, this money's coming from Iran.
Well, Sheila, then I take it back. We don't need to ask the Prime Minister where he stands. That opinion column in the Global Mail, adroitly speaks volumes, I should think. The second thing is, Sheila, if anyone is going to bat for Canada's big banks, well, they're federally regulated. The government told them to do that. No, they didn't have to follow through on this. And that's not conjecture. You mentioned Keith Wilson, Tamara Lich's lawyer. He has said on our Rebel News cruises when he's given presentations, the insurance companies were likewise mandated by the federal government.
Yes.
They wanted the auto insurance, the home insurance, and even the life insurance policies canceled. Yeah.
Their business liability insurance. We know that Farm Credit Canada denied financing to farmers who had shown support for the Freedom Convoy. Not even that they participated in it, but they were denied financing and they never were told why. So if they were trying to buy equipment, finance cattle, whatever, they couldn't do it and they were never told why. And it was because their politics were wrong, because Farm Credit Canada is a federal agency. It's the Farmers Finance Bank, which is supposed to work specifically for farmers. And they were punished for having the wrong politics. It's such a scandal. If this had happened in another country, one that seems a little less progressive, the Carney Liberals would be losing their marbles. If they did this in the United States, oh my goodness, we would not be able to shut up Melanie Joly over it. But because they did it to our conservatives, small c conservatives, nobody seems to care.
Yeah, it would be, look again, Donald Trump and his war on democracy.
Right.
That would be the narrative. But Sheila, FCC was the exception to the rule. The other insurers said, no, we're not going to do that. We are not going to cancel insurance policies of good customers who pay their premiums in full. Why would we do that?
Right. They're not an insurance risk. They only care about risk. Like financial risk, insurance risk, but the Liberals wanted them to care about political risk to the Liberals, which was fine for Farm Credit Canada. If the Conservatives ever get in power, that whole organization should be gutted.
I totally agree. So, and my end point, if the insurance companies, aside from FCC, didn't go along like trained seals taking orders from Fraulein Freeland and Blackface, then the big banks could have also said, take a long walk off a short pier too.
They could.
But they didn't. They were too eager to comply. And Sheila, to this day, I will never forget the look on Fraulein Freeland's face. She couldn't contain her smile. She was like jumping up and down like she was going to her Sweet 16 party. She was relishing in economically penalizing law-abiding, tax-paying Canadians. What a disgrace.
She cackled as she did it. I'll never forget that.
Yep.
We